Hi, I welcome you to this very interesting topic in finance, and that is alpha value. You will learn through this presentation as to what is meant by alpha value, how it is calculated, and what is the significance of alpha value as far as investments are concerned. So the simple definition of alpha value is the difference between expected returns and required returns in the short term. So what is meant by required returns? Well, actually we use the CAPM formula to calculate the required returns with the data provided to us, and the expected returns are the best estimate or a forecast of the market and the forecast of the rates and returns. So we compare the forecast with the formula based calculation of the returns, and the difference is called alpha value. So let us see how the calculations are done through an example. Well, you have to imagine an environment where the markets are efficient and the investors, they are adequately compensated for the risks that they take when they make investments, and the expected return and the required return in this case will be same, and therefore the alpha value will be 0. Now remember that this is an ideal condition that we are talking about. Markets are never efficient, so there are variations, and those variations cause the difference or the variation between expected returns and required returns. So let us see how the difference arises, what are the calculations involved, and how we calculate alpha value. Now you have to understand that if alpha value arises, that is an indication that arbitrage profit making is possible. So what is arbitrage profit taking? In fact, this is taking advantage of the price variations in the market. So let us see how it works in the next slide. So let's run through this very interesting example. There are two firms, and we got the beta values for the two firms, and also the forecast returns. We call it expected returns. So as you can see that expected returns are same for the two firms, but the beta values vary. As you know very well that beta value indicates the level of risk attached to a particular stock or to a firm. And now you are given the information as to the market return, that is 15%, and the risk-free return is 5%. Risk-free return is there on the T-bills, which are considered risk-free security. So let us see what advice comes out of this example, and where we should make the investment. Should we spend money on Rexon or Dexing? So that is the million-dollar question, and let us see what answers we get through this example solution. Well, here we got the alpha table, and as you can see that we have plotted the expected return, which is same for the two firms, and I have shown the calculation of the required returns using the CAPM formula. And as you can see that the required return for Rexon is 20% and the required return for Dexing is 16%. So the difference between the expected return, which is 18%, and 20% for Rexon is -2. So that is negative alpha value for Rexon. And as for the Dexing is concerned, we got the required return 16%, the expected return 18%, the difference is +2. So 2 is the alpha value for Dexing company. So what is the recommendation? And the recommendation is given down below, that because Rexon has a negative alpha, which means that it is not compensating the investor for the risk that he is taking, and the recommendation is that he should not invest in Rexon, and if he holds stock in Rexon, he should sell the stock as soon as possible. And coming to the Dexing company, the expected return are adequately compensating for the risks involved in the market. It has positive alpha, so the advice is that one should buy stocks in Dexing company. So now you can see how the alpha table is used in making investment decisions, and it's a worthwhile tabulation. It guides the investor in taking right decisions in the market. So now let's consider this example where you are given the market return at 8% and the risk-free return 5%. So the market excess return is 3%. Market excess return is the market risk premium. That is the premium that market gives to the investor because he has selected a risky stock in the market. And a portfolio with a beta of 1 should expect to earn a market rate of excess return equal to 3%, which means the market risk premium at 3% multiplied by the beta 1 gives 3%. So what we are doing here is we are using the CAPM formula to further illustrate the point as to how the market risk premium is worked out and how it influences and affects the calculations for the alpha value. Now let's consider this example where the beta value of a fund is given at 1.5 and it should provide excess returns of 4.5. What we are doing is that we are multiplying the beta value of the fund with the market risk premium, which we calculated at 3% in the previous slide. Now let us see what happens if the actual excess return was only 4.1%. Remember, the 4.5 that we calculated above is a formula based calculation. And now what we are doing, we are comparing that with the actual excess return, or you can say the forecast return, which is 4.1%. So in this case, the fund has a negative alpha of 0.4. That means the fund's performance is inferior to that of the market. So now let's consider the situation as to how we calculate the alpha value for a portfolio. The same data that was given earlier will be used to calculate the portfolio returns in the next slide. So now the first requirement is to calculate the portfolio required return, and to calculate the required return we have to first calculate the portfolio beta, which is the weighted average of the individual betas as is shown in the next slide. So once we got the portfolio beta, the next step is to calculate the required return of the portfolio using the CAPM formula. So now we got some data available. The expected return of the portfolio, which is Rexon indexing, is 20%. The return on the market is 15%, and the risk-free rate is 6%. 80% of the funds are invested in Rexon and the balance in Dexing. So that means 20% for Dexing. The beta of Rexon is 1.6 and the beta of Dexing is 1.1. So let's prepare the alpha table for the portfolio. So as you can see, we calculated the portfolio beta at 1.5, and the returns from the portfolio using the CAPM formula is 19.5%. That is the required return, which is a formula-based calculation. And now we can plot that figure of 19.5% in the alpha table down below. So we got the expected return at 20%, the required return at 19.5%, and the alpha value 0.5%. And that, as you can notice, is a positive alpha value for the portfolio. Now you would recall that the shares indexing had a positive alpha of 2%. You can refer to example 1. So naturally, investors will be tempted to make investments in Dexing stock. And as the investment activity increases, the share price will start moving upwards. And the upward movement of share price will cause downward returns. So the expected return would keep falling until it reaches 16%. That was the calculated formula-based figure for Dexing. And once the expected return will touch 16%, the alpha value will become 0. So now let's consider the situation as to what happens when a stock has negative alpha. Well, a negative alpha will prompt the investors to start downloading the shares in the stock market. So this increased supply in the stock market will cause decrease in the share price, and as the share price will decrease, the expected return will increase until it will touch the required return that was calculated using the CAPM formula, and the alpha value will become 0. So, guys, it's quite interesting to note that when the share price changes in the stock market, the expected returns also change, and the alpha value will change as a result. So we can say that alpha value are as dynamic as the share price. I hope you got this concept of alpha value, and you understand very well the mechanism, the calculations, the significance, and also the observations made in the comments. And this will be helpful to you in your study, and also you can revise it from time to time so that you are updated, and you can take the questions in the examination with confidence. So, good luck from me, and thank you. Thank you, guys. See you in the next presentation next time. Bye for now.